All right, so this video is going to look at trigonometric half angle formulas, and they are given to us right here. And it is important that we understand kind of how to apply them. So in my unit circle, if I was like, hey, find the sine of 15 degrees. Well, I know 15 degrees is in quadrant 1. But I don't really know like what triangle, it's not a special right triangle that is created by that angle of 15 degrees. And so I don't really know what the sine of 15 degrees is based off of like the unit circle. So instead, if I look at the sine of maybe 30 over 2, so if I let alpha be equal to 30, then I notice when I plug into the formula, I get the cosine of 30 alpha is 30 over 2. Well, the cosine of 30 is something that I know would be root 3 over 2. And then this plus or minus piece comes in because what ends up happening when we start getting into maybe like some other quadrants, if you will, is like when you start, sorry, my pen didn't want to work. When you start finding maybe like the sine is here, but then the half of that is in here, right? So you just want to be really careful of the sign of like the positive or negative sign of the angle that you're trying to find. Now, in this one, since we're in quadrant 1 for both of these, it's going to be just the positive. And I'm not going to worry about simplifying inside the radical here. All right, so here's an example of when we need to be very careful of where our angle is going to be. So in this case, I know that tangent of alpha is in quadrant 3, and tangent is 8 over 15. Now remember that's negative and negative because I'm in quadrant 3 here. And so 17 would be our hypotenuse. Now something that I know is that 180 must be less than alpha, must be less than 270 when I'm looking at degrees. So if I'm going to be looking at alpha over 2, then 90 must be less than or equal to alpha over 2, must be less than or equal to 135, which means when I start finding these alpha over 2 pieces, I'm actually in quadrant 2. So like the sine of whatever alpha is over 2 is in quadrant 2. Well, I'm going to have the positive square root then of 1 minus cosine alpha over 2. Well, alpha is still this. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Alpha is still this, and I realize sine is negative here, but cosine is what I'm looking for. Cosine of alpha. Cosine would be negative 15 over 17 all over 2. And then this positive on the outside comes from the fact that my alpha over 2 angle is in quadrant 2. All right, let's look at cosine of alpha over 2. Let's look at that formula. So that's going to be the same, but a positive on the inside. Now, because alpha over 2 is in quadrant 2, I know I'm going to have the negative square root of 1 plus cosine alpha over 2. So that's going to be negative square root of 1 plus negative 15 over 17 over 2. And then let's look at the formula of tangent, alpha over 2. So we do have plus or minus again here on the outside. 1 minus cosine alpha. It's the negative because I'm in quadrant 2. 1 minus cosine alpha over 1 plus cosine alpha. So 1 minus negative 15 over 7. 1 plus negative 15 over 17. Sorry, over 17, not over 7. And and that's going to be how you plug in to these half angle equations here. Again, making sure that you understand where alpha over 2 is going to be based on your original angle and what effect that then has when you half it.